good thing about reading bad reviews about a movie you're about to watch is that it lowers your standards enough to be pleasantly surprised by how not bad the movie was. That was certainly the case with Yogi Bear, which I recently, albeit reluctantly, watched with my 8-year-old son. While it won't win any Oscars, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But before going any further, some disclaimers are in order. First, I, along with all of you, have been spoiled by Pixar, which, borrowing from its Google friends south of the Bay, can do no wrong. So, it would be unfair for me to compare Yogi Bear with any Pixar movie, one of which has actually been nominated for an Oscar. Second, I did not watch Yogi Bear in 3D. Although I'm not sure that would have made it any better. 3D images seem superfluous. Then again, when a movie's main character is a talking bear, what about that movie isn't superfluous? Third and last, as I mentioned earlier, I lowered my expectations going into the movie, so I'm grading on a very low curve here. Now that I've dispensed with the disclaimers, I can talk about the movie itself. But before I do that, I should mention that the movie, stealing a page from Pixar, started off with a funny and nostalgic Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote short. That was a nice treat. It took me back to my childhood days of watching poor old Wile E. Coyote chasing Roadrunner around. I still feel sorry for him, and I hate the Roadrunner. And I've always wondered, why does Wile E. Coyote chase after the Roadrunner anyway? What's so special about the Roadrunner? She's just an annoying tease, like all those girls in high school and college who wouldn't give me the time of day. But I digress. The short was classic Looney Tunes that stayed true to the original formula, with only a modern technology twist. Watching Yogi Bear was well worth catching that short. Okay, for real now, time to talk about the movie itself. Here's my quick synopsis without a spoiler. Yogi, voiced by Dan Aykroyd, causes mayhem stealing picnic baskets in Jellystone National Park, while his close friend Boo Boo, voiced by Justin Timberlake, tries to help him and keep him out of trouble with the not-so-goofy head Ranger Smith, played by Tom Cavanaugh. The plot of the movie kicks in when the mayor, played by Andrew Daly, attempts to sell off the park to loggers in order to dig his city out of a budget deficit, give voters money from the subsequent budget surplus. Stimulus package reference, anyone? And thus position himself to win his run for state governor. Along the way, Ranger Smith falls for the goofy Rachel, played by the awesome and really goofy Anna Faris, an extreme filmmaker who shoots a documentary about Yogi and ends up helping Ranger Smith and Yogi save the park. So, the eco-friendly plot was cool and very fitting for a story set in a national park. I appreciated my son getting the moral. Or did he? And although trite, the plot was believable enough, especially in this era of perennial fiscal crisis when every government is looking everywhere for revenue. As for funny, I found myself laughing. Against my will, and perhaps not as much as my son, who laughed at will. Aykroyd may not be as funny as he used to be, and Timberlake and Cavanaugh were bland as cold tofu. But Faris was very, very funny, because she is always funny. Remember all those really awesome, funny, scary movies? The human side of the script was hella funny and clearly directed towards an adult sensibility. And Daly as the mayor was by far the funniest part of the movie. His blatant portrayal of a blatant politician was frighteningly accurate, akin to Robert Redford in The Candidate or Warren Beatty in Bulworth. And his chief of staff, played by Nate Cordry, filled the sycophant role all too well. But most important of all, my son thoroughly enjoyed himself. And that made it worth forking out my money, spending my time, and yes, lowering my film standards. So I give it 3 out of 5 picnic baskets. Thank you, and see you at the next film review.